for all. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we just thank you for all that you do for us. We just thank you for being with us. Help us to make the right decisions for our citizens. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
I'd like to call this evening's meeting of the Jackson City Council to order. We'll start with roll call. Ms. Kuhn?
Foster. Elliott.
Here.
Colby.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Newkirk.
Here.
Crabtree.
Here.
Bob.
Here.
The chair would entertain a motion to excuse Councilman Brett Foster due to illness this evening. Mr. Newkirk, second Ms. Colby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Mayor, any recognitions this evening?
No, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. So we did have one gentleman who asked to speak to council this evening. Mr. Hatfield, you'd like to step up to the microphone? That right there?
I'm pretty loud.
Well, this will get, those online can hear you also if you're there. And we'll give you 3 minutes, okay?
Okay.
So go right ahead.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to take the opportunity to speak about the ordinance 824 that you guys have proposed. I don't know the process to finally get that into legislation or make it final, but I wanted the council to take into consideration, while our business is not located within the city, we are in Jackson County, and a lot of the reasons that I listened to in your last meeting of wanting to change the current tow rotation regulation was basically monetary related. So I wanted you to take into consideration that while our business is not located within the city, we are in the county, and we support multiple businesses within the city. We buy tens of thousands of dollars worth of parts at Osborne's. We pick up stranded motorists along the highway and bring them to the city of Jackson for to stay in motels and have their cars worked on at businesses here in Jackson. We don't work on cars at our location, so we bring them to businesses within the city. You know, I understand that you wouldn't want tow companies from Waverly or Chillicothe, but I feel like since we've been on this rotation since January 1st, we have either met the expectations or exceeded the expectations that was set forth to us with response times and quality service. So, I mean, we do donate to the ball teams and multiple organizations within the city. We're very proactive and want to be more involved in the community. We try to reinvest into the youth because, I mean, that's our future. So, I mean, like I said, while we're not located within the city, our business, I feel like, significantly contributes to the revenue stream of the city, and I feel like it's rather insulting that that you would propose an ordinance that we don't invalidate it by saying that we don't contribute enough to the city or that it's not significant enough to be on a equal tow rotation if we can meet the expectations that was set forth to us. I mean, I'm not here just to defend high road towing. I know that there are other tow companies that's on this rotation that I mean, I don't know 100%, but I believe at least one of them pays city trash and city electric services, and they will also be on the out-of-city rotation and not given a fair tow rotation. So, I mean, and I don't understand why all of a sudden this is an important emergency. I mean, I don't know how long your tow rotation policy's been in effect, the current one, but I feel like it's an attack on high road towing and myself that we've been on the rotation since January 1st, and now all of a sudden we've got to propose this legislation or ordinance to monopolize the towing industry within the city of Jackson, because, I mean, that's
about
what
30
it'll be.
seconds here.
What is it?
I said you got about 30 seconds.
30 seconds, okay. I mean, I feel like it's showing favoritism to one company, And I also, like I talked about the monetary significance, I mean, the way you've wrote your legislation, I could go buy one rollback and move in the city of Jackson and start a towing business and tow for the city of Jackson at $70 per impound and would never contribute to the revenue stream of the city as much as my current business does now. So I think it's unvalidated, I guess, is what I have to say about it.
Thank you, Mr. Hatfield. Does council have any questions for Mr. Hatfield?
Yeah, I do.
Mr.
When you are on the list, you show up, you, I guess, probably invoice the city and they mail you a check.
That's correct.
Do you pay the RETA tax on the check?
I do not pay RETA tax on that check that I know of. If I'm supposed to, I will, but we pay all of our Ohio sales tax. I mean, we pay everything that we're supposed to pay.
Oh, that's the only question I have. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Where are you
Okay.
located?
We are located at 297 Dixon Run Road, which is the old truck wash building right across from A&A Truck Stop. It takes us about maybe 11 minutes to get to the city.
Other questions for Mr. Hatfield? Mr. Reed?
Well, as far as the legislation, there wasn't any immediate thing. What happened was you were added to the rotation.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Swackhammer looked up the legislation, and they said there was no limit to the amount of people that could be put on. And there was no, that's where,
It is very vague.
that's where it came from.
Right.
So as far as the preference, other administration was asked, this comes from administration. I personally am in favor of supporting people in town first because of the RETA and the tax. Not knowing you, not knowing anything about you. That's my personal, if you were in town, it'd be the same rotation. But where do you stop, I guess is the question on, if there's another.
Well,
What this is to straighten the ordinance. If they want to change the ordinance, that's prepared by administration and the law director. So that would be what you wanted to say, or what they wanted to say, or what council wants it to say.
right. You've got 4 companies on your rotation currently, it would be is my understanding. And, I mean, like I said, I'm not the only business that's going to not have a fair tow rotation. I completely understand wanting to support the businesses within the city because they are supporting the city. What I'm saying is, I think that the revenue stream to the city that my business brings to the city, although I'm not paying RETA tax because I'm not in the city, the businesses that I'm supporting are. And I think that our business brings enough volume to the city that, like I said, it is more significant than if I went and bought one truck within the city and had a towing business. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, one guy, one truck isn't going to bring as much money to the city with the RETA tax or without the RETA tax as what our business currently brings to the city. So I think that if you can meet the expectations set forth, then there shouldn't be an issue.
Anything further? Thank you, Mr. Hatfield. Next on our agenda is approval of the minutes. Each of you should have gotten a copy in your packet. This is the February 12th meeting. Are there any objections or corrections to the minutes as presented to council? Hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion to accept those minutes as presented. Mr. Peters, is there a second? Mr. Newkirk? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. The motion is carried. Next on our agenda is the committee reports. We'll begin with utility. Mr. Newkirk?
No report.
Thank you, Mr. Newkirk. Budget and finance, Ms. Colby?
No report.
Thank you, Ms. Colby. Mr. Foster is absent. Service, Mr. Peters?
Just a reminder of the, I guess it's committee meeting that needs to be advertised as well, for our zoning restructure. It will be Monday, a week from today at 6:15 here.
March 4th.
March 4th.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Peters. Auditor's report, Mr. Reed?
The only thing I have, Resolution 1524 tonight, is dealing with a new timekeeping software. We've had a lot of problems with the Chronos system that we use, and we had been looking, and administration encouraged us to look and find something else that would function well with VIP software solutions. We've looked at a couple. We looked at this one, and they are actually recommended by software solutions that completely integrate with them. So this was our pick. Mr. Swackhammer met with your supervisors that would be using the system also, and we're waiting for their feedback, and they said go. So this is almost a year away in implementation. It will not be put in place until at least 25. It takes a long time to build it. So that resolution is 1524. It's last in your packet.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Any questions for the auditor? Mr. Kirby?
I have nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Kirby. Chief Hinch?
I'll be brief. We had an opportunity kind of fall into our lap this week, late last week. We believe that we might have found our next canine. It is a chocolate lab, 15-month-old chocolate lab named Maggie. We went and looked at it today. We love the dog. It's a very accurate drug dog, but it's actually going to be really good for community events too. It's such a sweet chocolate lab that you could put it in a room of kindergartners and walk out the door and not have anything to worry about. We think it'd be a good PR tool for us to connect with younger kids and do some demonstrations and get back into doing that. We found it under budget for what had been budgeted in this year's budget for K-9, but it's a Dave Johnson, who has a Southern Ohio Police K-9. It's out of Georgetown, Ohio. They train for all of Kentucky State Police dogs, Ironton, Portsmouth, Lawrence County, to name a few agencies, lots of other agencies. The handler was a dog handler and trainer for the military prior to going into this private business. So we had that opportunity to come up. We had a lot of agencies that were excited about maybe getting this dog, this chocolate lab, and I think it's going to be ours. So just wanted to kind of announce that.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Mr. Hinch? Thank you. Mayor Evans?
I'll add on to what Chief Hinch said, just so you all know, that I think Officer Kerry Ross has been determined that he will be the handler of Maggie, and that they start training in April, I believe. So
Yeah, it's April 1st, should be ready to roll by May 6th.
also, just remind council and the public, we still are looking for seasonal help as lifeguards, and seasonal help for general labor, which is primarily mowing in the cemetery as well as other places. So if you have anyone that you know of might be looking for summer help, I think we can start out. David, help me, what age do you have to be?
16.
You have to be 16?
Yep.
That's pretty much the requirement. So hopefully we are paying well like we did last year. I think all of those jobs start out at $14 an hour.
Correct.
And you can go up based upon if you've got previous experience or you're just doing a really great job for us, up to as high as 18. So, and that's the same as last year. Also, we do have a full-time job in the city open for a skilled labor in the street and alley department. We do believe that will probably be filled within, but we will still have a skilled labor position open somewhere. It'll probably end up in the water distribution sewer collection department. So we taking applications for that. A couple of major projects that we've talked about several times here are scheduled to actually start next week. One of them is the big South Street water line replacement, where we're running a new water line from David Avenue to South Street. They're scheduled to start next Monday. It's a BP Pipeline is a contractor. I know David has already met with the schools to discuss communications for traffic interruptions. I think we hope to do as well with that as we have been with the gas company. I do know that David has a copy of the door tag that Tracy was out placing today, notifying the neighbors of what's about to happen, just to give them a heads up. We'll also have that on Facebook and probably our website too. And then another project that won't be so noticeable, but it's actually part of this project, is a large sewer lining project. The sewer line that goes from Veterans Drive all the way out to Chillicothe Street. It's one of our main, it varies in size from 8-inch to 24-inch. It's about 5,000 feet, almost a mile of it, that we're going to be relining as part of this same, it's a two-part project. It's the two-part project that we got that $2.4 million EDA grant from the federal government. And we also had an ARC grant to go with that. So hopefully both of those jobs will be done. They're supposed to start next week and be done by late summer. But particularly the South Street water line, that's going to be a big messy project right down the middle of South Street. Or on both, it can vary from side to side of South Street even, but it's replacing a water line that's over 120 years old. So it's much needed. I do want to mention too about grants. I mentioned to you last meeting about about our success in getting capital budget financing through Senator Congressman Stevens. We met with Senator Shane Wilk. The capital budget this year is a little different than most years. It's the House and the Senate are doing their own, and they each have a pool of money to spend. So we got selected for a substantial amount from the House, and now we met with Senator Shane Wilkin last week, and we're hoping to get a substantial amount from his office too. We put in the same two projects that we received funding for from the House, which is the Memorial Building project and the Parks and Trails project, we call it. It also includes flood mitigation along those parks. So hopefully get more money to make those projects to help them along. We still needed more money. We didn't get full funding on anything, but hopefully get more from them. So if you got any connection with Senator Wilkin or any senators, then any political help always helps. That's all I have, Dan.
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions for the mayor? Mr. Swackhammer?
Yes, earlier before the meeting, I passed out the questions associated with the zoning code updates that was sent over by the company that met with us the last meeting, ahead of the last meeting. And so we do, as Mr. Peters mentioned, that meeting is coming up next Monday evening. So please take a look at that questionnaire and be ready to discuss that and use that time wisely. Also, the yellow door hanger that I held up earlier when the mayor was speaking, every resident on South Street should be getting one of those either today or this week sometime. Again, starting at David Avenue, coming toward Main Street, doing the mains, and then it'll come back and do the laterals. So we ask for patience. We are working with the schools. It will impact the end of the school year this year and the start of the school year, as well as the summer activities, this summer. Columbia Gas is finishing up in the city of Jackson. They will be out of their laydown yard probably in the next 2 weeks down off of corner of High and Main. And they'll be finished up in what's called the Trago project, which really runs around Trago, Bennett, Chestnut, Huron, out 139 a little bit. So they'll be wrapping that up and leaving town. As of right now, Columbia Gas is not scheduled to be back until sometime in the 26 or later timeframe. So a couple years or so before they'll be back in to do any more work going forward. There are a few ordinances and resolutions in here. We got one on a grant that, although it's not due till May, I'll ask you to go ahead and to consider passing it so we can get some pre-work done and move it forward. Ordinance 0824, even prior to Mr. Hatfield speaking this evening, I'd already spoken to the mayor, and I'm going to ask that be tabled for some additional review and consideration so that we can do our best to get it right. So please consider that when you come to that ordinance. The other item is there is a very thick ordinance in there around the floodplain. 09 was the last time the flood mitigation, floodplain management in the city's codifieds was updated. ODNR reached out to us to do an audit on us. Myself and Operations Manager Greg Farr sat through it. We fared very well in the overall audit, got some nice reviews back from the young lady that did the audit on us. But she also then noticed that there had been some governmental wording updates to some of the things that we have in here that she was helping us get caught up on, did a very good job helping us do that, gave us some options. So what you've got there is the new revised one. I have copies of the current one, the new revised one, and the ones with her comments along the way, if people want to review that. Far as our requirements and what we're requiring the residents doing any type of construction or activities in the floodplain, there's almost no process change at all there, no additional paperwork requirements. Floodplain permits still required. The guidelines that were in place prior is still there. It's just really cleaning up some of the language. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Schweikhammer. Any council questions for Mr. Schweikhammer, his report? Hearing none, then we'll move on to the ordinance and resolutions portion of our meeting. The first ordinance is ordinance 824. Mr. Schweikhammer is asking for a table on this ordinance. Do I hear a motion to table this ordinance?
Mr. President, can we have some comment before we make any decision on that?
Should we make a motion first and then I'll entertain discussion on the motion?
Well, technically, we're on second reading, so I feel like we should probably read it as second reading before we make any sort of decision on it.
Mr. Kirby, correct. Please.
An ordinance repealing and amending the City of Jackson's codified ordinance section 303.11 regarding towing of vehicles by the city.
Mr. President, permission to speak?
Yes, sir.
I was going to make a recommendation to table it anyway, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I understand the concept, I guess, behind to make the change, but when you start to think about it, it doesn't make any sense. So I agree with, the gentleman who was speaking. A couple other things that we need to shine the flashlight on. If people are earning money inside the city, they should be paying the city tax. I would assume it'd make more sense to withhold it. I don't know how you all do that, but it would make more sense to withhold that tax from anybody that we're making a payment to. Forget the honor system, let's just withhold it. Is that something that we can do? Maybe a whole another discussion or topic. But a lot of people don't live in the city and are forced to pay the tax. So we need to be doing a better job of collecting the tax from people who are earning money inside the city limits. And in this case, they do support the RETA tax, or they should be, because they should be paying the income tax on the money that they earn inside the city of Jackson, just like everybody sitting at this table, most of the people out there in the gallery are paid. So I think that opens up another topic for discussion later, but, I don't know if we can withhold tax, if that's something that's possible. Shaking your head no.
Yeah, the thing there is, it's not a straight 1.5%. If they're paying tax someplace else, there's a forgiveness of a certain percentage, so you don't know all of the, it's not like a sales tax where it's a flat 1.5%.
Okay, fair enough, but we still should be doing a better job, or whoever is collecting tax. We're paying Rita, and Rita needs to do a better job of answering those questions for us. No?
Three?
They'll answer any questions we give them, but a business outside of town should be paying RETA tax on any money's profits made in town, and they also should be paying RETA tax on the employee while they're working in town. So that's their records to keep. You can call RETA and they'll set you up for whatever you need. We have people that will set up. In the city, I believe, we give out RETA registration to all contractors and anybody that we should pay, we should also be giving RETA information to.
But how do we know that they're actually paying? How do we just use the honor system on that? Am I wrong?
I have the ability to see who pays RETA tax.
I think we need to do a better job of that. With that being said, I do move to table ordinance 0824.
I'll second that.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Elliott,
Yes.
Colby,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Newkirk,
Yes.
Crabtree,
Yes.
Bach.
Ordinance 824 is tabled. Next, ordinance 924, first reading. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance to revise the codified ordinances by adopting current replacement pages thereto and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 924 as presented to council? Mr. Elliott, second. Mr. Peters, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Ms. Kuhn?
These are the updates from the fourth quarter of 2023. They include the local and state updates that need to be adopted into our codified ordinances.
Mr. President,
Peters?
I'll move to suspend the rules so we can get these updated in line with ORC.
Is there a second? Mr. Newkirk? Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Elliott,
Yes.
Colby,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Newkirk,
Yes.
Crabtree, Bach.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Elliott,
Yes.
Colby,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Newkirk,
Yes.
Crabtree,
Yes.
Bach.
Ordinance 924 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 1024. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance repealing and amending the City of Jackson's flood damage reduction regulations now codified as Chapter 1331 of the City of Jackson's codified ordinances.
Could I have a motion to adopt ordinance 1024 as presented to council? Mrs. Colby, is there a second? Mr. Elliott? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Swackhammer.
As I mentioned earlier, most of this is governmental updates from, that have occurred since '09, which was the last one that was updated by a city. And I do have copies here of the various, the current, the revised with no markups, and then the revised with comments from the ODNR auditor that met with Mr. Farr and I. So I'll be glad to sit down with anyone that has any additional questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schwackhammer. Any other discussion? Further action to be taken on ordinance 1024? Hearing none, this represents the first reading of ordinance 1024. Next, for council consideration, first reading, ordinance 1124. Ms. Kuhn?
An ordinance approving additional appropriations in the Community Improvement Fund for the Orange Street Water Line Replacement Project and declaring an emergency.
Could I get a motion to adopt ordinance 1124 as presented to council? Second by, first motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Bott. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Swackhammer.
Yes, when we passed the budget, we still had a couple of ODOT projects that were open that have since been finished and closed. That money rolled back to 228. I want to take that same money, that's why it's such an odd number, and reappropriate it to an Orange Street waterline project. This is about 3 blocks on Orange Street, and then a block from Orange to South on, let me get this straight, Bennett and Chestnut. To update the water lines there, we will do part of the work in-house, replacing the laterals over to the meters, but we are going to have a contractor do the main, pressurize it, clear it. So that's what this funds will be reappropriated for. Again, this was leftovers from an ODOT account.
Thank you, Mr. Swackhammer. Question?
Just a quick question. The 228 fund is the sales tax fund.
No. Well, I'm going to ask Mr. Reed. Is it the sales tax? Okay, because it's been the one that myself.
It'll be our only fund, right?
Yeah. It's a capital improvement fund that has got some discretionary behind it for the service director, and that's what I'm using it for.
Time is of the essence.
We've already got an agreement with the individual to start. He's looking at starting probably by sometime in March.
That's great.
Mr. President, I'll move to suspend the rules so we can do this project.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Bob. Discussion. Ms. Kuhn?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yeah.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bott.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree. Bott.
Yes.
Ordinance 1124 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration on first reading, ordinance 1224. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution authorizing the Service Safety Director of the City of Jackson to enter into an agreement to participate with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the resurfacing project on County Road 505 and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt resolution 1224 as presented to council? Mr. Elliott? Second by Ms. Colby. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Swackhammer.
There's actually two of them here for ODOT, 12 and 13. 12 is for one of the grants that we got for work with ODOT here in the city. 13 is for some work that the ODOT is doing on those state routes. There's pieces of those 3 state routes, 139, 776, and 788, that still ODOT is finishing, that the city has no involvement other than giving them permission to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Swackhammer.
Question, what's County Road 505?
Beaver Pike.
I had the same question myself. Other discussion? Further action on resolution 1224? Mr. Peters?
I'll move to suspend the rules.
Mr. Peters moves to suspend rules. Is there a second? Mr. Bott, second. Discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bott.
Yes.
Further discussion? Ms. Kuhn?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Newkirk.
Yes.
Crabtree.
Yes.
Bott.
Yes.
Resolution 1224 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, first reading, resolution 1324. Ms. Kuhn?
A resolution authorizing the Service Safety Director of the City of Jackson to enter into an agreement to participate with the Ohio Department of Transportation for the resurfacing project on State Routes 139, 766, and 788, and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 1324 as presented to council? Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Newkirk. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion, Mr. Swackman.
As mentioned, it's just some work that ODOT still has. When they was, for example, when they was doing 139, they stopped over by Iron City Pipe. This will take them now past the school, which is the rest of the way out, still inside the city limits. So that's just an example of what they still need to clean up.
Thank you, Mr. Swackhammer. Mr. Peters?
There's a Scrivener's error, resolution, there is, should be 776 and not 766. We only give them permission to someone else's state route going through there. I'll move to amend that.
And if I could, I was actually wondering that myself. It's in the body of the resolution as well, so.
Can we amend the resolution as well? So I'll make a motion to amend 766, 776 as it applies throughout the resolution. And then
1324.
send an email to ODOT, tell them to get their dots straight.
Present.
Okay.
So motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion.
I can be an all in favor.
All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Now, in regards to the emergency, that is, can we still,
Yeah, it's just Scrivener's error.
okay.
I'll move to suspend, to give ODOT permission for the project.
Motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Newkirk. Discussion. Ms. Coon?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Crabtree. Bob.
Further discussion. Ms. Coon?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Crabtree.
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
Resolution 1324 is duly adopted. Next, for council consideration, Resolution 1424, first reading. Ms. Coon?
A resolution authorizing the mayor or the service safety director of the city of Jackson to submit an application to the Appalachian Regional Commission program funding for downtown water line project and declaring an emergency.
Could I have a motion to adopt Resolution 1424 as presented to council? Mr. Elliott, is there a second? Mr. Crabtree? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Swackhammer.
Actually, this was one Mr. Reed spoke about earlier on the software.
That's 15.
That's 15.
Oh,
This is
I'm
14.
sorry,
I'm
I
sorry.
grabbed the wrong one.
It's just to apply for an ARC.
Yeah, ARC grant.
For a water line project on downtown Main Street.
My apologies.
That's ordered. Other discussion? There's a May 24th date in this, so I know it's not, we're not right up against it, but
We like to apply early.
I'll agree, it's a grant. I will move to suspend so we can get the grant process started.
motion by Mr. Peters, second by Mr. Newkirk. Discussion? Ms. Coon?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Crabtree. Bob.
Further discussion? Ms. Coon?
Elliott.
Yes.
Colby.
Yes.
Peters. Newkirk. Crabtree. Bob.
Resolution 1424 is duly adopted. Our final resolution for the evening is Resolution 1524, first reading. Ms. Coon?
A resolution authorizing the mayor or director of public service and safety to enter into an agreement between the city of Jackson, Ohio, and Right Stuff Software Corporation for timekeeping software to integrate with the city's current management software and declaring an emergency.
We have a motion to adopt Resolution 1524 as presented to council. Mr. Newkirk, is there a second? Ms. Colby? All those in favor say aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Discussion. Mr. Reed?
Okay, the software that we've been using ever since I've been associated with the city is it's called Kronos, and we've had a lot of issues with it. It doesn't integrate with our payroll system. There's been a lot of problems with people clocking in, clocking out, fixing their time, keeping track of their accruals. Mr. Swackhammer and myself have been unsatisfied with it since I've been associated with it. It didn't make sense to me. So we went on the search of another software provider, and this one is actually recommended by the software that we use for all our accounting. It integrates with it, so it'll be seamless. We tried it, looked at it, we passed it off to Mr. Swackhammer. He wanted to review it with the supervisors. Kind of waiting, they gave their blessing and want to move forward for the city. So that's what you've got before you. This is about a year-long implementation. They have to build all the pay codes for all the city employees, all the different levels, so it's a lot of work. If we implement it right now, we'll still be looking 25 before we get it up and operational. So that's why, if it's something council wishes to proceed with, we need to get moving with it.
Thank you, Mr. Reed. Other discussion?
Quick question. The
Richard.
cost of this software, is it comparable to what we're using now with Chrome?
Yes, once it's built. In other words, once they have, the first year you have your time clocks, which is about $20,000. You have the building of the software, which is about 15, and those costs are on top. And then after that, it'll run about 18,000 a year.
Other discussion? Mr. Elliott?
I move we suspend the rules.
Motion by Mr. Elliott, second by Ms. Colby. Discussion?
Am I missing a paper that has costs on it, other than what you just said?
So there's not a contract that's attached to it, and
So what are we agreeing to here? Are we purchasing this? Are we agreeing to purchase this later? Are we sending them a blank check, or?
Mr. Reed?
There was sent with it, Mr. Kirby would have it somewhere, all the costs associated with it.
I think we had, it wasn't really a regular contract, so it wasn't attached. I think we'd mentioned that it was available, but I don't know if anyone had looked at it or not.
Thank you.
Other discussion? Ms. Coon?
Elliott,
No.
Colby,
No.
Peters,
No.
Newkirk,
No.
Crabtree,
No.
Bob.
Yes.
Yeah, so this will,
That's just-
yeah, so this will be first reading of Resolution 1524 to be picked up in the next meeting with, I would hope, additional information. This concludes ordinances and resolutions portion of our agenda. Ms. Coon, was there any correspondence? Any old business to be brought before council this evening? Hearing none. New business?
Mr. President, just a quick question on the Board of Control minutes for the property taxes that we paid. I'm happy to see that the list is very, very short now, but there's one parcel on here where we paid $12,100 in property tax. That's a lot of tax. I didn't look it up. Does anyone know what piece of property we're paying $12,100 in property tax for?
Mr. Reed?
It's not one parcel, it's all parcels.
So are these just
That's
the funds that we're paying those out of?
Yes.
Okay, well, that list is a lot less than it used to be. A lot less. Thank you. That's all I got. Thank you.
Other new business? Mr. Bob?
I have a question for the mayor and Mr. Swackhammer. has the state said anything about the immigrant problems that we're experiencing across this country? Have they had any guidelines or what you're allowed to or what you're not allowed to do? Have you seen anything like that?
I have not seen anything that come down.
Nothing, I haven't seen any.
I just wondered, because if such a thing, I mean, Lord, hope we don't ever see it, but if they do, I hope Mr. Hinch can arrest them and get them out of this country because they're illegal and they shouldn't be here. And the only reason I bring this up is because of what happened this past Sunday in Georgia, you know, with the nurse being shot and stuff. I just wanted to see if there had been anything said from the state, you know, as to what we could or could not do, or if we're allowed to do something without their approval. I mean, if they do come here, we want them arrested. They're not legal. We want them arrested, we want them out of here. I mean, that's, there again, that's my own personal opinion, and I just wondered if something had been said. So, that's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Bob. I will say that we do have a tourism board meeting scheduled for March the 6th at 9 a.m. So you may mark those to attend, and mark that on your calendars. Any other new business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Mr. Crabtree, second by Mr. Peters. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. We stand in.